Y'all read all people. I was having fun with it. He goes, you all right? That was very good.
So my name came in. That was my name yesterday. With James. Hey. We can put it in a resolution.
Okay. No, you don't have to.
Yeah, just put some.
I'm gonna get you some.
Yeah, they got a whole group.
It's Bonnie, you don't give me a book.
Almost hit my little he's lucky. Becky stopped. I was going to stop the float. So I told Becky. Oh, thank you. Yeah, thank you. I appreciate it.
It's Bonnie.
Hey, man. Good, good.
Brady, how are you? Brady, Jeremy, how to do that thing? That's good, though. They're not going to see us at all. That's good. Good. I don't really like to talk anyway, except at budget time.
Did it?
I thought you're gonna have a great flight. You find out at 7:40, getting there at 11:30, 5. I think I was in 6:40. I look back, I get back my notification. I had it for 7:40 at night. So I had to switch around. So now instead of the direct down flying, I'm at 5:30. Getting there at 1. Last minute.
Do they meet president?
He's going to be speaking, but
On the fire.
so I'll find him down. About 42 days in the national championship. That's all I see him and hear him every day in the news, right?
We all do. We all do.
So what is it?
Was Deborah attached the wrong thing to it? So I had to put another disc to reattach. The right thing. I'll learn to. I've read it, but I never owned it.
Does he have a blue ink pen? You're so sweet, Bo. Thank you.
First up is the invocation by Reverend Craig Matthews.
Let us all rise and bow, please. Dear God, our Father, we thank you once again for another opportunity to come together and have fellowship and to meet concerning the business of St. Mary Parish. We ask that your Spirit would rest in this place, that you would cover our hearts and our minds, that you would guide all of our decision-making, that the things that we seek to do in these proceedings tonight would bring you honor and glory. Father, we also pray a special blessing upon all of those Christians that are observing this Lenten season and all of the different penances, God, that we're studying in our heart to try to draw ourselves closer to you during this season. We pray that you would be with us and that you would guide us in all that we seek to do to bring you honor and glory. We also pray, God, for traveling grace and mercy for those that are going to be traveling to Washington, D.C. On this weekend to meet with other congressional leaders and other people across this country to try to bring innovative ideas to our parish. We ask that you would be in the midst of all that we do. And we also pray once again for all of our leadership across this country, and that you would bless those men and women that serve in armed services both locally and abroad. We ask all of these blessings through Jesus Christ's name. Amen.
Amen. Pledge allegiance by Mr. James Bennett.
One nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Next up is the roll call.
Thank you, sir. Reverend Matthews.
Present.
Mr. Ina.
Here.
Mr. Orlander.
Here.
Mr. Rankin.
Here.
Mr. Rolfe.
Present.
Mr. Abear. He's absent. Mr. Bennett.
Here.
Mr. Duhon.
Here.
Mrs. Hidalgo. Here. Dr. Rink.
Present.
And Mr. Adams.
Present.
You have a quorum present, sir.
Okay. Next up is reading of the minutes from the previous meeting, February 11th.
Can we go ahead and accept the minutes?
Got a motion by Mr. Olander to accept the minutes.
Second.
Second by Dr. All in favor? Motion carries. Next up is guests, Mr. Greg Rochelle. Want to come to the podium? Just state your name for the record, please.
Gregory Rochelle.
Go ahead, you go ahead.
Okay. First off and foremost, thank you, elected people, for trying to help us with our acts on Riverside Road in the condition that it's in. I know we're doing some things to it, just not enough. The lighting that y'all put up, thanks, and everything y'all been trying to do, I appreciate. But over the last 5 years, and I'm one of the newest residents out there, that's on the council now and not on the council. And 2 or 3 has mentioned we knew what we were buying when we bought out there. The last person I spoke to mentioned that the lots were cheap, insinuating that possibly we were cheap for living out there or buying out there. What I want to say, in the last 5 years, what I paid, that road was $1,000 a road foot. I paid for that property, $1,000 a road foot. In 5 years, I would almost bet between any of y'all, me and my wife, has put more money into this parish, into that one little piece of lot. Everything I did, from my bulkhead, my backfield, my outdoor kitchen, which is 1,200 square foot, it's not small, and just finished my house and furnishing it, came from inside this parish. And to be told we cheap, this is what I want to say about Victoria Riverside Road. You go to the Berwick dump, that road is better going to the dump than what we live on. Alice C. Road has hardly 0 residents. We have 50 or so. Way better road. Cotton Road, for a thing we always hear, and I play golf out there, I'm a pass holder. Cotton Road has a better road, 0 residents. And for someone to say cheap and keep trying to tell me the history of Victoria Riverside Road is kind of insulting, because I was born and raised there. This road is so bad that 4 years ago, there was an accident out there. A man died on scene. 2 people were life flighted to 2 different hospitals and spent over a week in Euro trauma centers, and their families didn't know if they were going to make it. Another one was sent to an ambulance to Morgan City. And what did we charge that guy with? Failure to maintain with an accident. Why? Because of the condition of Victoria Riverside Road. Unlit, unmarked, poor road. Do any of y'all live on a road like that? You can be standing in your front yard talking to your neighbor, or one of your children and grandchildren would be struck by a vehicle running off the road and has no legal recourse. I don't think any of y'all live like that. Now, y'all torn up, it's 5.5 miles. Y'all torn up just over 15% of that road. Back to limestone. It's worse now than what it was. You have children, some of us have children and grandchildren riding school buses. Riding school buses out there, and the road is worse. Is any of y'all children like that? Which one of y'all road has gotten worse? And I know we're trying to do something, but saying only 3 miles is unacceptable. It's unacceptable. 5.5 miles. Let's get my road fixed. It's just not mine. There's a lot of us live out there. But to be called cheap, I just hope that person said that in mistake, because if it wasn't, it was said in ignorance. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Mr. Gregg, if I may make a comment, sir. First of all, I've told people on numerous occasions that Victoria Riverside is a priority of mine. And originally, when this was discussed, believe it or not, it wasn't even on the list. Believe it or not, even in the condition it was, but it was a priority. And moving forward, unfortunately, funds are limited, and the percentage we're actually spending on Victoria Riverside Road is a tremendous amount compared to other areas. We talked about, I want to do the whole road. Trust me, I would love to do the entire road. Right now, we're looking at 3 miles, but we're looking with the bids being favorable. Maybe we can do more. But I know you've probably been talked to about the fact that we're going to go back and we're going to recondition the rest of the road and try to get the rest of it the best condition we can. Look, I would love to do every single road in this parish. I know the road. I know it's a horrible road. That's why it was one of my priorities. And I made commitments, not necessarily to you, but some other people that were out there, that I do everything in my power to do the most I can for that road. You mentioned about, it's poor road or poor conditions. I've heard that before in the past, and I think some people talk about when they mention that was this, and don't take this the wrong way, because everyone deserves a good road. But I think they're referring to the fact that, when you bought your property, the road was in pretty rough condition when you bought it. Therefore,
It's way better than what it is today.
Absolutely, and it should be a lot better, and it should be done the entire stretch. I think that's some reference to that as far as, I'll use one as an example, Kane Road in Centerville. When people bought out there, it was a gravel road. When they did that, back in the day, we don't accept gravel road. If you actually is gravel, if you do a road standard, we won't take it in with the parish. It's got to be an actual road as per our definition. Because what happened in the past is that we take it in, and then it's a gravel road, and all of a sudden, well, we need to pave it, which it becomes cost prohibitive. We can't do every single road.
But you put 15% of our road back to gravel, the limestone. So is that the point to get us to where you won't accept Victoria Riverside?
No, sir, it's a parish road. No, that's not the game plan at all. And look, I'm gonna let you know right now, my commitment is to try to do everything we can and try to do the whole thing, and we're committed for it. I told you, not necessarily you, but other people, that I'm committed to that road, and we're gonna see if we can go beyond 3 miles, and we're gonna stay on that road, okay?
I do, I appreciate it.
Yes, sir.
Thank you. That road is in my district,
Yes, sir.
and I just got on the council like 6 other guys and ladies up here. Give us a chance to try to do something. Like Mr. Handegriff said, they've been working on it. They're trying, they're doing the first 3 miles. There probably isn't enough money, given the economy we have right now, to go ahead and do all the roads appropriately like they should be done. But we certainly are aware of it, and I can tell you, I will work to do whatever reasonably can be done. Can I promise you we're gonna do it? No, sir, I can't. But I can promise you we can try. Now, you mentioned Cotton Road. I've got a bunch of property on
Scott.
Cotton Road. Cotton Road is good for
Mr.
halfway.
Ramsey, I wasn't
And
gonna
after
go
that,
there. I know that. You had
it's
that lease
horrible.
way before this. I understand that. I understand. And I just say, and Scott, I would probably say most of us voted for you on that side. So we thank you for serving, and
Well,
you're
thank
gonna
you, sir.
probably hear for us. But I just say, when it rains next time, just come ride back. I'll
No,
give
it's
you a
horrible.
coffee,
It's
or you
horrible.
can have a beer, burger, whatever. Just come ride. I'm 5.1 miles on the right. Just come ride back there and talk to me after rain. And tell me this is how you want your tax dollars being spent, and you want to live back there. I mean, the value of our property is way less than across the side of the river, and we have some business owners back there, some small business owners, and we have some very nice homes back there.
We do.
But my home, the money I have in my property, the cash I put up, is not, I cannot value my house for what I put into it. And now just the road is just horrible. It's just unacceptable. It's unacceptable in 2020.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir.
Next up, Mr. Hanegraaff.
Yes, sir, Mr. Chairman, thank you, sir. I don't have many items on my report. First of all, I want, hopefully everyone had a great, Mardi Gras season was cooperative, most of the weather, and hopefully everyone had a great time. I do want to give a shout out and acknowledgement to my king. I'm part of the Sucrose crew in Franklin, and of course, our king this year was Senator Ireland, so I want to give a shout out there to Senator Ireland, and thank you for doing Sucrose. One other thing I want to mention to you also, tomorrow, I will be speaking at Louisiana Association of Conservation Districts. The Area 4 meeting will actually be held in Baldwin Community Center, starting at 9:30. And for those of you that aren't aware of it, the district is actually a wide range. It encompasses the districts that are Vermilion, Iberia, Acadia, Lafayette, St. Mary, St. Martin, St. Landry, Cameron, Calcasieu, and Jeff Davis. And we'll be discussing coastal restoration projects and conservation projects.
What time you said it was?
9:30.
9:30. Who all is invited?
Area 4.
General public is invited?
General public. So any councilman that want to attend, you're more than welcome. Other than that, if you have any other questions, that's all I have tonight.
Any questions?
I have one question. Mr. Hanegraaff, are you
Yes,
gonna be making a trip to DC?
Yes, sir.
When you speak, I have a request.
Yes, sir.
One issue, I think I've mentioned this before, Louisiana is one of only, I think, 5 states now where teachers, work and pay into the teachers' retirement system, and they work, other jobs, and they cannot receive their full Social Security benefits, so.
Or their spouses.
All right. Their Social Security benefits or their spouses. Of course, we're way behind the southern average with salaries and so on and so forth. So a lot of teachers, there's a teacher shortage. And one thing that kind of deters a lot of teachers for coming to this area, I've heard, is that when they come, they understand that the salary is a little bit low, but if they go get a second job and they pay into their quarters, they still won't be able to get the benefits once they retire. So if you could understand that, would be greatly appreciated to be what we earn.
Absolutely. And so you're saying we're the only state, Louisiana's the only state?
No, that's
There's
5
only
states.
5 left.
Five states.
Only
There's
5
5
states.
left that
It also affects the fire, police,
right.
any government employee.
Correct. Any government employee, you cannot get your pension that you pay into your teacher, like we're in the teacher's retirement system, and your Social Security benefits. There's only 5 left in the union that you cannot do it, and we're one. So we like to change that.
The problem is it's a trade-off. The teachers and the other employees have their own private retirement systems instead of Social Security. Now, they can get another job and they can work, or they can voluntarily pay into the Social Security system. I practiced Social Security law for 45 years. I was asked to be a Social Security judge. federal judge on 2 occasions. And I didn't want to do it, but that's a big, big, big problem that we see. You can imagine people come in and they find out that they've been injured, hurt, or sick, and there's no Social Security, which means there's no Medicare. You only have your private insurance. And you'd be amazed how many policemen and other public employees have absolutely no clue that they're excluded from any type of Social Security or Medicare because of that.
It's
Mr.
going
Ryan,
to be fixed.
It's got to be fixed on a federal level. Yes, it can be fixed. Is the federal government going to do it? You know, maybe, anybody's guess.
Councilman Ina,
Priority right now.
No.
I would definitely, I'll get some more information, put something together, and I'll definitely represent that.
Thank you, appreciate it.
Yes, sir.
Next up, Mr. Bo.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, members of the council. The items in my report are informational. I'll be answering if you have any questions. I'll be happy.
One question, but what's the status of the bids for, have they gone out for,
No, we
Not
just finished up. We had 2 other projects we just advertised, started advertising today. And so the next projects coming up are the Irish Bend area projects.
thank you, sir.
Yes, sir.
Any other questions? Next up is report of council meetings. Public hearing February 11th, 5:45, and also minutes for at 5. Motion the second to approve these.
So moved.
Got a motion by Reverend Matthews. Second by Mr. Bennett. All in favor?
Aye.
Anyone against? Motion carries. Next up is report of meetings other than council meetings, just for informational purposes. Item 12, introduction of ordinances.
Yes, sir. For introduction is an ordinance creating Consolidated Gravity Drainage District Number 2A of the Parish of St. Mary, State of Louisiana, describing the territory to compose the district and the boundaries thereof, and providing for other matters in connection therewith.
I so move on it.
A second's required. I'll second it.
Wait, just introduction.
No, sir, just introduction.
Okay, so moved by Councilman Duhon. Next on the item is resolutions. Lisa, want to read them all into the
Yes, sir.
record?
I'll read them into the record. 13A is a resolution approving and authorizing the parish president to execute an intergovernmental agreement relative to the Central Coast Historical Hydrological Restoration Project, CCHHRP. B is a resolution authorizing the parish president to execute a professional services agreement with Miller Engineers and Associates Incorporated relative to maintenance dredging at the Wilsons, J.C. Rousseau, Jesse Fontenot, and the Michelle boat launches. C is a resolution authorizing the parish president of St. Mary Parish to execute an architect-engineer contract with Furman Architects LTD relative to waterproofing, interior modernization, elevator code upgrade, and associated work at the Fairview Treatment Center. D is a resolution authorizing the parish president to execute a professional services agreement with Miller Engineers and Associates Incorporated relative to the repairs to the bunkers at the Atchafalaya Golf Course. E is a resolution authorizing parish president to execute a contract with the lowest bidder relative to the St. Peter Street and the surrounding area sanitary sewer collection system project. And F is a resolution to disband the St. Mary Parish Charter Advisory Committee. And everyone, E is just behind your packets if you're looking for that one also, okay? Y'all want to do a motion?
We got a, we'll do a motion and a second, then we have discussion. Got a motion for Mr. Abear, got a second by Mr. Olander. Discussion, Mr. Bennett.
This St. Mary Parish Charter Advisory Committee disbanded. It was, we didn't get no activity, I mean, nobody come to the meetings while it disbanded.
Yeah, that's,
Next.
Not on that one yet.
Yeah, we ain't got to that one yet.
I don't know.
We're going to discuss that on the next thing. Well, one of the reasons, I know I spoke, Mr. Ina spoke to me about it a while back, and I contacted Lisa and see where they was at with this, with this, and she called several times and wouldn't get a response from anyone.
I could give an update when we get to it.
Okay.
Yeah,
Okay,
let's move
so,
on A through E.
okay, roll call.
Okay, we have a motion by Mr. Abear, seconded by Mr. Orlando for 13. Reverend Matthew. Mr. Ina.
Yes, ma'am.
Mr. Orlando.
Yes, ma'am.
Mr. Ramsey. Mr. Abear.
Yes, ma'am.
Mr. Bennett.
Yes, ma'am.
Mr. Duhon.
Yes, ma'am.
Mrs. Hidalgo.
Yes, ma'am.
Dr. Rink.
Yes, ma'am.
And Mr. Adams.
Yes, ma'am.
You have 11 yeas, and the resolution's carried. Thank you.
Okay, item 13F.
Oh, yeah, F, I'm so sorry. Okay, my bad. I meant to say F.
Okay, it's got a motion by Mr. Ina to move on item 13F.
I'll second it.
Discussion. Got a second by Reverend Matthews.
On the attorney's office today, Nick LaRocca. I called for Nick, because when I seen this, I think it was Monday, I ran into Jason Watson and asked Jake, who was on that advisory board. And Jason told me, he said, we are so close, one meeting, we would be done with this. I said, oh, really, we that close? He said, no, we to the final stages. So I spoke to Nick LaRocca's office today, and she told me that that if they could have one more meeting, they would be able to wrap this up and submit it to the council. I told her it was very important that we would have it before our next meeting. The date that kind of came up was March 9th, Monday, March 9th, but she had to verify with Lisa whether the chambers here would be available. And if they'd be available, and she wanted to call the other board members, or the committee members, to make sure that they would be able to be here, because they needed at least a quorum. And she said from her knowledge and from Jason, he thinks an hour and a half, they'll be done to submit to us.
And I understand that, that's fair. It's just, we've been trying to get this group to meet for, it's almost been 2 years. I think I did this in 2018, I think.
Yep.
And I don't know the last time that they met, and I understand your point about them needing an hour and a half. But it's just beyond me that they have not been able to find an hour and a half in the last together.
At least a
In a year. At least a quarter. I understand they need an hour and a half. There's been a lot of hour and a half time frames in the past year, but I mean, I'd be willing to pull it, you know.
Give 'em a chance?
I give them opportunity, but after that, I mean, because we've come here, there's been change for the weather and for.
Jay, to be honest with you,
various
if
things.
I wouldn't have made them calls, nothing would have happened. Really nothing.
Well,
Because the ones I spoke to, they said, well, we just been waiting.
On
And then-
what did they say, specify what they were
Well,
waiting
they
on?
were waiting on the chairman to call the meeting. His secretary today told me, some of this is probably my fault, because she said, Nick had told me, because every time they try to do something, they couldn't get a quorum together.
Right.
So he totally said, look, just pick a date, put it on there, and we gotta make sure they show up. And this is what she told me today, and I looked at my calendar, because I know we'll be going next week, so I said, well, look, why don't you make it Monday, because, the calendar looked pretty full for the following week, other than that Monday. And she said she was gonna contact Lisa, and if that was a doable day for here, then she could try to they need at least 5 of them to be here.
I don't
And
have.
Jason Watson also told me, if we have it, I will make the calls to the guys on the board. I know we had 2 of them that had resigned. We had Mark that had resigned, and
Jeremy
Jeremy also
Christine.
had resigned down to what, now because they don't on that board,
And
they
Patrick,
only
I don't
need.
have a problem with that because, I've attended the meetings and those guys really did some good work and they had made some progress, but we just need to finish. We need to get it wrapped up and we need to get it closed. The purpose is to get this done because that's gonna be part of my discussion under the new business of us moving forward here as a parish. So I don't have a problem with giving them another opportunity. If they wanna do it on the 9th or whatever the day is, I'm okay with that, but if for some reason they can't make it or can't get it together, then we're just gonna have to shut it
Okay.
down. I'm gonna bring
I
it
would
back
maybe
up.
recommend that you
let me let
Pull it
Mr.
till
Bennett
next
say what
meeting.
he asked
Go
first.
ahead.
Yeah, I'm gonna do this, Charlie, look, I'll take the bull by the horn. Nick LaRocca is my appointment. I'll make sure, Lisa, if he's gonna take his secretary to call everybody, I'll call him personally to make sure. I mean, we worked this hard, we're this
Right.
close. The guys, we of us gotta go sit on the board. We, you know, we can do that to make it happen. But I'll definitely call Nick, I'll make sure he's gonna be the secretary doing his gun by the war.
So Mr. Chairman, I'd like to Mr. Bennett and to Mr. Adair and pull from the agenda and give them opportunity to, you know, make the contact and see if we can get this done and get this wrapped up. So I'll pull.
Well, let me ask a question before you do that. Is it legal to just table it until a future meeting, just in case they are unable to meet or they don't meet?
He could put it on the next agenda.
So then,
Just table it.
yeah, so I'd like to table that to the, yeah.
Okay, you got
to
a
the-
motion, you want to just table it?
Motion to table item F until the next
I'll second.
regular meeting.
Do you want to say March 9th or I mean, March 11th, our meeting?
That's, yeah.
What's the
Our
date,
next
what's the
meeting is
meeting
March
dates,
11th.
Ms. Lisa? What's the meeting dates for March?
Ours is the 11th and the 25th,
So,
and if they would be meeting, the 9th would be the Monday before.
how about the 25th? I'll table it to March the 25th. That'll be the,
Actually,
right, that'll be the second
Can they do that?
meeting in March.
I'll second.
Jay, I remember, if, Chairman,
That's correct.
I'm okay with that,
that's
it's
You
okay?
can do that, yes, sir.
Is that legal?
Okay, so I got a motion to
Hold on,
table it
Mr.
till,
Eric was getting ready to speak.
wait, Ms. Eric?
I'm not sure I understand the question.
We want to table item 13F until March the 25th, to give that committee one more opportunity to wrap up their business.
The question is,
They just want to
Is
make
that
sure-
appropriate?
Is that appropriate?
Can we do that?
this is a resolution. It's not like an ordinance where you have to, if you just table it right now, you can put it back on anytime. you
Okay,
want.
got a motion, that a second? Reverend Matthews? All in favor?
If these guys don't show up for some reason, we need to find another alternative. If we that close to finishing this charter's so important, the changes are so important to be made, we need to find a backup plan to have it. See if these guys don't show up. We need to come up with something else to salvage this. I mean, nothing to get, no disrespect, Mr. Hines.
No,
This charter, everybody knows how important it is.
and I agree with you,
This
Mr.
close.
I agree with you, Mr. Councilman Bennett. I just want to get this done because this is a very serious issue, a very impactful issue to everybody. So I'm with you. I want to get it done.
Right.
Right? So whatever we need to do, I'm okay
Reverend
with that.
Matthews?
Yes, I have a question. And I guess this is a protocol question. If that committee is have the authority to take the recommendations that they have devised up to this point and still act on them without them having a meeting,
I think so.
well, let's do that. We don't even have to wait for them to
Mr.
meet.
Councilman, this is an advisory committee.
Yeah, they're just
The
advising us on
council
things.
is ultimately responsible, that you can do whatever you want. You could take, there's no requirement bounding you to this.
So that work does not have to be in vain.
Correct.
Mr. Chairman.
Mr. Ramsey?
A question, what is it they're exactly working on? Are there any specific issues or?
They were commissioned to go through the charter. There was each councilman selected a representative from that particular district, read through the charter, and have discussion of any items or areas that they felt could be updated, changed, concerned, discussed for future consideration. Thirds of the ways they've gotten, they have some recommendations that they're going to take a look at after having reviewed.
Do you know on which topics, Mr. Hines, that
What we-
you bring before us? Which ones are the hot subjects?
Well-
If you're at liberty to say.
Well, I know that, of course, the parish president is one, but I think they have a list of several. I really couldn't tell you all of them off the top of my head, but they have several that they've looked at, and I think they'll have a few more once they finish up.
Thank you, sir.
I think anything would be an improvement at this point.
Amen. Amen.
This antiquated charter.
Amen.
Okay, any other comment?
Yep. If this is done at the time frame we're looking at, if I remember back when you had first introduced it, you was asking for it to all be wrapped up for April to get on that November ballot. So we kind of right at that same position again.
A year later.
A year later.
But
Say it like-
But, you know, we
same
can wrap it
time,
up.
same neighborhood.
And I'm gonna have some more comments about that, Councilman Aber, once we
Yeah,
Just my thoughts about
and
that.
Scott, all they're gonna do is make recommendations for us to go through and decide what we would like to do. And a lot of it is some legal jargon that's outdated, I believe, that our legal advisor gave his opinion.
I was just curious, what subjects are the hot subjects that they were looking at,
Oh.
just to get a rough idea, but.
I think travel is one.
Yes.
How
And what
we
was the
travel.
Parish president.
The other parish presidents, they think also the,
Yes, sir.
those were some hot
Main
items.
ones, that's right.
Right.
Thank you, sir.
Okay, moving on.
Hey,
Yeah.
attorney.
Mr. Chairman, if, so far, there are no recommendations for y'all just to pick up. Councilman Matthews said, can we just pick up their recommendations if they don't show up? Well, they haven't voted on anything, so there's nothing to pick up. Right now, there's just scattering notes probably that some people may have, but there are no recommendations. There has not been a meeting to determine a recommendation. So, no, you can't pick up something that doesn't exist because there are no recommendations as of this point. And just bringing the new members of the council, maybe, they radically, they met for, had membership shifted because some people resigned, some new people got in. Very often we didn't have quorums. It was sometimes wasn't even told to the administration here that we're going to have a meeting. And I remember one time we showed up and the doors were locked. And luckily, Bo was still here, was able to open the door. I don't know what kind of recommendations they got. These recommendations. It's news to me that I can tell you that nothing has been formally voted on, so the council can't pick up recommendations of advisory committee that hasn't made any recommendations.
I understand about the method or the manner in which that they didn't have meetings or they were erratic meetings, but I'm confident in the quality of individual that's on that board, that when they do make a recommendation, I don't think the meeting have any impact on the meeting quality, legitimacy of all. I don't want that to have any bearing on that. I think we have a great group of gentlemen on there that have volunteered their time, so I think they're going, when they do bring something to us, I'm confident that the quality of recommendation is going to be good.
That's a policy decision this council can make. It can look at it and it can make a determination, but as of right now, that doesn't exist.
Got it.
That's what I wanted to know. Thank you.
Where they stand, where they got going on, and I'll talk to him about some things, some concerns that were addressed tonight that's not happening. Personally, it's very important. I'll make a call tomorrow and get all that straight. And, you know, like this right here tonight, I'm getting, Mr. Duplantis, I didn't know all this was happening. I promise you, if I knew this happened, it would have been addressed. It's James Bennett representing Morgan City District 7. Some calls have been made. The door's not been taken. I don't understand.
Thank you, sir.
Okay, next up, there's nothing on the old business. On the new business, A, discussion of St. Mary Parish Home Rule Charter, Mr. Heiner.
Yes, sir, Mr. Chairman. This kind of piggybacks on what we just talked about. I just wanted to kind of implore to the council. I think the council has an understanding of where we were and what we were trying to do, author establish a charter review committee, because I think there's an agreement that our charter needs some revisions. It needs some work, and I think that we need to, this is a very, very critical time that we are in right now, because for one thing, after this term, we will have a new parish president, and I know I'm looking kind of far ahead because Mr. Hannegriff, you've been doing an outstanding job, nothing with you, but we have to take our future into consideration, and I think that we need to start now looking at what we're going to do as far as moving forward into the future. Currently, as it stands, you know, we could be looking at quite a few changes during this term, you know, that could have a significant impact on the direction of the parish. So I feel like at any point in time, now we are at a time that we need to start to have the dialogue, have the discussions, be as transparent as we possibly can. And my ultimate goal is to make sure that we bring something to the citizens of St. Mary Parish to let them ultimately decide on what they like to do. And I think that was kind of the sticking point before, that we were not able to come to an agreement on what to bring to the citizens of the parish. But I think that we really, really need to start early. If there are going to be any changes, I know parish president is the topic. That's probably the hottest topic, so to speak. If we're going to make changes, if we're going to do something different, I personally believe that we can't keep the parish president seat as it is now with compensation duties, and that just can't happen for us to be able to move forward. Now, what's the answer? I don't have any idea. I have an opinion, but I'm just one person. But I think we need to start that dialogue, so we start adding to the discussion now, be transparent, so they can have input into this, and we can put this together and what we want to have to. But seriously, at least make them start working in the charter review committee, because if it was not working, then we need to go in a different direction, because we are close. But that's kind of what I wanted to bring. And since we have a lot of new councilmen and council ladies, you know, we even though we just got on and we just started this term, I can tell you from serving one term, it comes and goes really fast. And I do not want us to be in a position as a parish for this term to end, and we have not taken the necessary measures to make revisions, to make changes, to prepare ourselves to be competitive for the future. So that's just kind of the discussion I wanted to bring up tonight, just to let you know my thoughts and my feelings. And, you know, there could be some very impactful changes that could happen here during this term that's going to affect, you know, the council, the administration, a bunch of different things. You know, so I think we need to be prepared for that and take a look for that, look at that, and just not let the time, you know, get caught up on us.
Reverend Matthews?
Yes, sir, Mr. Chairman, thank you. I'm curious, either Councilman Ina or anybody else that may have some insight as to the content of discussions during those committee meetings. At any point, did the committee actually take the initiative to look at some of the other charters of neighboring parishes? I would be very interested to know that, because it's no secret to anybody in this room, and probably not a secret to most of our constituency, that just about every parish around us, just about, is growing and progressing by leaps and bounds. And I won't say that there has been no progress in St. Mary Parish, because certainly that would be an insult to all of us. But we have not been nearly as competitive in terms of economic growth, in all of the aspects and facets that spawn economic growth. Housing development, affordable housing development, not just, you know, upscale housing, rental, as well as single-family ownership, education, in every facet. Healthcare, we have not been competitive as our neighboring parishes have been. And so I think that would have been an ideal place to start. Maybe look at the content of some of those other charters. I think that when this charter was written, I wasn't here, I wasn't around, I wasn't as involved in public service and community development then as I have been over probably the last couple of decades. But it just seems to me, when I read the charter for the first time, that there was not a whole lot of innovation put into that. And that's not to insult our predecessors by any stretch of the imagination, the people that wrote that. But I think when I read it, I just see a lot of politics that was intended to build parameters around certain things. It behooves me that we could have waited this long to change that. I think this conversation should have happened maybe 20 years ago, because some of that stuff should have been changed. And for us to not take this process, as seriously as I think it needs to be, does a disservice to St. Mary Parish as a whole.
I'd like to respond, Mr. Chairman, Reverend Matthews. Yeah, several of those gentlemen have looked at other parishes. I had a conversation with some of those gentlemen, and they do have some facts and some figures and some language that they've compared to surrounding parishes. parishes that are similar size, that are close to us, that they're gonna bring forward. I think they're gonna bring some good information forward to us, and I do agree with what you said. We have to be more competitive. Look, I applaud and commend the job President Hannah Griffith has done, but at the end of the day, our parish president also has a business to run that is not gonna run itself, and he has obligations that he has to do. So I think he's done a fine job of, you can't be in two places at one time. You can't be a business owner and, be at every event. So that's some things that we need to look at. So, Mr. President, I commend you for that, and that's one of the things that we're looking at going forward. We need to be able to be more competitive. But I think if the group is able to meet and make a formal recommendation, I think we're gonna have some good ground to start with and get the process rolling, because I do not want us as a parish to drag our feet and to let time pass by and we in a situation where we're scrambling to, for lack of a better term, to keep moving forward in St. Mary Parish. I think foresight and preparation, if you fail to prepare, then prepare to fail, so to speak. So I think that's why I wanted to bring that conversation up today, to look at that, and so we as a council can get ready to start taking the steps to move forward.
President?
Yeah, Councilman Ina, in no way, shape, or form do I take any disrespect in some of your comments, because I agree to you to a certain degree. This job is in no way is a part-time job. Yes, it's paid $12,000 a year. However, can I survive off $12,000? Ask my wife. No. So it's a tough job. Clearly, at the end of the day, this job cost me. It cost me to be parish president, but I take no disrespect in that, because there are certain truths to what you're saying. Clearly, I can't empty seats out there that I can't spend 40, 50, 60 hours, even though my job far and beyond the scope of which originally they thought about. Something needs to be addressed, and I told everyone that when I was running, I wasn't discussing it. I never made it to a single charter commission meeting, because I didn't want to be involved in all that, because I'm running for parish president. Like I said, it cost me money. Clearly, I'm not doing this for the money. But however, now I can have a voice, because you really, truly can't have a voice if you have skin in the game. The fact that I'm termed out and I can't run, I'm clearly not doing it for myself, and it's going to be for the next person that's going to represent this parish, so I will be more involved in the process to see if we can find some type of balance, because the thing about it is the founders, the ones that actually created the charter, I get it. I understand exactly what their mindset was. Limited government. They didn't want to create a big bureaucracy to where everyone got paid. Okay, I understand exactly where they're going with, and I actually agree with it. Being as conservative as I am, being a business owner, I get it, and most of St. Mary Parish gets it. However, there's unintended consequences to that, and I think some of it could be tweaked, and I think it could be done in a certain way that we can get the people to vote for it. But at the end of the day, no matter what, this council has to put something out there that the people will vote in support. So it has to be a proper balance, and it has to be something that can get passed, because if not, it'll be killed again.
I agree. And to that,
Thank you.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes, sir.
and just for the record, I'm thinking next term, whatever we're doing, I'm thinking as far as the next term after this term. So that doesn't have anything to do with any councilman that's currently in the seat right now. So I'm thinking, forward thinking as far as the changes that we're going to make. But you are right, Mr. President. We need to tweak some things, and time is of the essence, and I do not want to let that time pass us by. And I agree with what you said. That's it would definitely help, with your support.
Actually, and again, I'm going to take an active role, and we'll move on. I'm going to take an active role as far as the council members are concerned too, because my only disagreement is this, is that some people have stated that, well, this is for the next council. Well, ladies and gentlemen, if you have involvement in that, and if you're running for the next council, then you got skin in the game.
Correct.
The fact that I'm not running, and I'm termed out, means I have zero skin in the game for council and the parish president.
My only question, Councilman Ina, is are there not minutes or notations from these previous meetings that they've had that we can build on?
Yeah, when the committee was formed, we had a discussion about that, and they have agreed to take all of their minutes and do everything. So there is a secretary that has been recording minutes, so they should have minutes on the record. I know the meetings that I attended, they did keep record of the minutes, and they
So at
should
least
have
there's
some.
a rough outline of what topics they've discussed, so we can pick it up from there if
Yes.
this meeting doesn't happen.
Yes.
Chairman, I'm sorry.
Yes, sir.
One more remark. In hindsight of what President Hanegraaff said, whatever measures do come out of, or recommendations do come out of the committee's findings, if this council chooses to put those items or some portion of those items on the ballot, obviously it's gonna mean that we believe in what we're asking the voters to consider. And I said this at the beginning of this process a few years ago, I think the first time we did it. And that point is, it's going to take a concerted effort on our part to properly inform our citizens of these measures. An intelligent voter is an informed voter. We all know that because we're voters. And we vote based upon the information that we have available. And so if we don't go out and I hate to use the term sell this stuff, but if we don't present it and advise the people in our districts as to what these measures mean, what the fallout can be if nothing is done, and gain their buy-in, gain their support, then of course we're putting it on the ballot for nothing because it's gonna fail anyway. Because unfortunately, some of these measures that are being talked about, people just have a negative disposition about some of those things because they have not been informed, properly informed. And so I think we need to go into this with that realization that if we have any chance of gaining the momentum and achieving the successes that people envisioned when this process started, then we're gonna have to inform our voters. Whether that's through town hall meetings in every community, for a period of months leading up to an election, that's what it's gonna take. And I'm ready to roll up them sleeves and get out there
I
and do it.
also think what needs to happen is we have some attendance here, but we should also have a public hearing type format or a town hall here at the council chambers, once those recommendations are brought forward, so we get the general public's input into that modification too, not just these people that have been submitted to this committee, and that will get better buy-in while the public can actually see their opinions heard, what's being, and they feel
I
like.
agree, Dr. Rink.
I agree.
That was part of my opening statements when I talked
Mr.
about
Chastain?
the transparency. That's what,
You on the committee?
Yeah, hold on. You mind if I?
Yes, come
come to the podium, Mr. Chastain.
For the record, Jeremy Chastain, 730 Kelly Drive in Patterson. Just to kind of get down to the nitty-gritty. When I was appointed, we hadn't had a meeting in 2-3 months. We got 9 members. There was only 6 people that showed up to the 3 meetings I went to. 2 people are off, so now you're only gonna have 4. There's 9 people that was put on this commission. If nobody shows up, then it's useless to even have the conversation now. There was no push, there was no drive. We sat here 2 hours, had stuff written down. There are things written down, there's things ready for submittal for recommendation. The problem is, we asked for input and we got it from sitting, from Mr. Ina and Mr. Hebert, but from nobody else. We need that commission, because I resigned in September, so that committee needs either the input of what y'all want to see addressed, or let it be and go. Right now, if you call these people to a meeting, out of the 6 that used to go, you're 2 short, so you have no quorum. So now you wasted everybody's time. Now we need to get everybody involved that was put on this commission or this committee to actually show up. What, they're just a name on a sheet of paper saying that they were involved, but they never showed up. Put them accountable, like everybody wants to hold the council accountable. hold them accountable for showing up. Don't sign up if you don't want to do nothing. So we really need to look at the attendance of the meetings and actually see who showed up. If they didn't show up, either ask them to resign, boot them, whatever you got to do. Put new people on there that want to get something done. I've talked to several people, and I got supposed to bring them to talk with y'all about it. But the problem is that Mr. LaRocca was game to talk. Jason, myself, Mark, Ms. Deborah Price, we were all game to talk about what needed, and Reverend Randall. We were all willing to talk about what needed to happen to change the charter and make recommendations. But if only 6 shows up and we hash it out, all of a sudden we don't have it. One person doesn't show up because they got sick or they went on vacation, then we lost all the momentum. So then you got to start all over again. So I'm asking, from used to be on the committee or the commission, y'all need to put pressure on these guys to show up or get off.
So
and
can
put
he be
somebody-
reappointed?
That's why we did that, but as of right now, we have 9 people on the committee.
Can he be reappointed tonight?
No,
No?
not tonight.
Why? It says action.
So when was the last meeting?
We
I'm
haven't got a
generally.
response.
Last time we had a meeting that I was there and Mark was there,
Right,
was
and it
like in
says
August.
action. Why it can't be done tonight? Y'all,
Mr.
that's an
Ramsey?
Eric question.
Secretary, for the new people that are on the council now, can we get a list from you?
Yes,
As
sir.
to who the people are that are,
You're gonna read them right now to us.
okay.
We have Mr. Jason Watson, Ricky Ormelin, Deborah Price, Reverend Alan Randall, Nicholas LaRocca, Chris Lepre, Everett B. Jones, Ty Burnett, and Paul T. Tholen.
Still would like a list, I didn't catch all that.
Okay, we'll get you one.
Yeah,
We'll
I'll
get you
get you,
a
I'm
copy.
gonna send it to
Mr.
you.
Chairman,
And my apologies for leaving Mr.
I would
Chris
like
out.
to ask a legal opinion as to whether or not this gentleman can be reappointed to that committee tonight. It's on the agenda. Action relative to this committee.
But if I remember correctly, I think
There's 11
they said up to
seats
11.
on that committee.
One per person. They said up to
There's
11.
only 9 filled. There's 2 vacancies. Why can't he be appointed
That's an
tonight?
advisory committee,
It's
isn't
an
it?
advisory
I
committee.
have a question to Mr. Duplantis. If it's an advisory committee and not a commission, do they actually have to have a quorum present to conduct the meetings?
It's a public meeting, it was recorded. And the problem is that we recorded it on cell phones.
Let him answer. Come on,
I'm
Mr.
sorry.
Derrick.
If you ask me a question, somebody can't keep talking for me to answer.
Talk now.
Yes, I would think you'd have to have a quorum, because otherwise one person could show up on the committee and have a meeting. I would say, yes, you'd have to. I would say from the list that you, I was at some of the meetings, and sometimes I specifically told them I could not attend the meeting, and they would schedule the meeting anyway, when I would have a conflict if I had another parish council meeting. So, he's correct, that I would seriously doubt that many meetings that they had, if they had a quorum, they had barely a quorum. So, and the quorum would shift. It wouldn't necessarily be the same quorum that would be at other meetings. You don't have a quorum of the 9 members. It's a shifting amount of people who would do this. And I'd be very interested in whatever kind of quote minutes they have, because given to the administrative support. Some of them worked very hard. Some of them came here, and yes, they did code, their research, some of them charters, et cetera, knew what the council members in the other districts made, what the president and other charters made, what the duties of the other parish presidents and the other charters made. Some of them were very, very prepared when they came. But it was, I just have to use the word, it was disorganized, and if there's a tape, you'll see that when you listen to it. So, y'all can do what y'all want to do as far as using that
Can we,
data.
I move to add or reappoint Mr. Jeremy Chasteen to the charter advisory.
All in favor?
Aye.
Anyone against? Motion carries. Next up,
Jeremy.
yeah, go ahead.
I'm Lee Drag now, 1200 South Prescott, Morgan City. Mr. Honor, the first time, I've been screaming this forever. The cost of doing nothing and trying is much greater. And we're getting left behind. We've been left behind. They just sitting here picking the people that our businesses, just hand picking the ones they want and taking them. And that's what's happening. And I believe that if there's a cost-benefit analysis of a paid, if you want something nice, you got to pay for it. It's kind of like going by of all I don't know, old beat-up truck and a brand-new truck, right? If you want the nice one, you got to pay for it. That's just the way it is. All right, we can save all day long, but what you saving if nobody's here to pay it? All right, you got to bring the people back, and I commend both of y'all. You sitting there both screaming the same tune, and that's the only tune that really needs to happen right now. Is how do you go out and get the people back here? Not even the people, the business back, right? All right, because you can save all day long, but if there's nobody here to pay the tax, what did you get? You didn't get anything. So I commend you on that. It needs to happen. You have to have a salesman, all right? And the salesman is the parish president, all right? And it needs to happen that way because everybody else does it. If we didn't learn anything yet, go look at all the other parishes that are blooming. I guarantee you the guy makes more than $12,000 a year.
Of course.
You understand what I'm saying? Because it gives him incentive. The only way you're gonna get incentive to go do something is get paid. Right or wrong?
Right.
Because you always worried about, nothing against Mr. Hannigran, because, I mean, I'm on boards too, and I don't get paid, you know, and I have my business to run too. But if you gotta worry about that, you know, it's a little bit tougher, right? I'm in a little bit different situation, but you know, if your job, J-O-B, your real full-time job is to promote this parish, I'm not even saying bring new businesses here, bring business to the businesses that are here, okay? It's not that hard to do. It's not really that hard to diversify, to look outside of the box. I don't have a box. Everything I got is round, all right? But to look outside of that box, the only way is to have a person that's out there going to get it. And that person can only do it if that's his only job, right? That's all I'm saying. I'm so glad to hear what you just said. That is, I've been screaming that forever. And, you know, saving don't really matter if there's nobody there to pay the bill.
Help us pass it on the ballot.
All right, that's
Thank you,
all.
Lee.
Thank you, sir.
Next up is appointments to following boards and commission. Drainage Board, District 6.
We have Mr. Newton Gode and Larry J. Oquin, and I did receive a late applicant from the present member, Mr. Royal Young Jr., after the deadline.
So move on Newton Gode and Larry Oquan.
Second.
Got a motion by Mr. Duhar to move on Mr. Gode, Mr. Oquan, second by Mr. Scott. All in favor?
Aye.
One against?
Who's against?
Nobody.
Okay. And before we adjourn, I would like to make one more comment for y'all too, if you don't mind. I talked to Mr. Paul Idale today, and he said that he's gonna be bringing the individual pictures on March the 11th, 2020, for the next meeting to meet with y'all. So just have cash or a check on hand if you wanna purchase anything, okay? So that'll be the next meeting.
If there's no more business, Mr. Chairman, I move that we adjourn.
Got a motion to move by Mr. Olander,
Second.
second by Ms. Dr. Rank. Oh, I'm sorry. Yeah, come.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. My name is Farley Mott, and I'll also live on Victoria Riverside Road, and I just have a few comments I'd like to make about it. In the beginning of 2019, I have to commend the parish for doing such a nice job patching up and trying to keep up the potholes in the road. But since we had a little hurricane, since Barry came and visited us this year, I mean in 2019, seems like the parish dropped the ball. And used to we had a little tar truck and gravel truck that would come out and patch the holes, and they do a really nice job of it, pretty good. Now all they do is come with a asphalt in the back of a 3/4 ton truck and fill up the potholes. It don't matter if it rained or anything, and it doesn't really last very long. And the road's deteriorating faster than they can keep it up. That's basically what's happening. I did inquire about what the repairs and what the terms were gonna be on Victoria Riverside Road about 6 months ago from a councilman, and I was told that he made a few phone calls and he checked into it, and I got my call back, and he told me that the road was gonna be redone in 2 phases, and they was gonna have to send the engineers to measure it and write it up, and they was gonna have to send that to, send it out for bids. Then it would come back to the parish, and it would be, council, run through council, and start after that. I asked him, well, how long would something like that take? He said it should take about 6 months. Well, at the end of this month, it's gonna be 6 months. And my question to the council is, what part of the phase are we at right now?
The council remembers at the last meeting, they did authorize we received bids on the first phase, 3 miles, first 3 miles from Jennings Bridge, 3 miles, which is about at the Ward 5, Ward 8 line is where it gets you.
Correct.
3 miles. We received the bids, we awarded the contract at the last meeting, preparing this contract to us. Once we sign the contracts, we'll have a pre-construction meeting, and then give the contractor a notice to proceed. So we may not make the exact 6 months, but we will be pretty close to it on when they'll be starting that first 3 mile sector. Regarding the original road was where we went and we tried the road, and then we lay down a layer of tar and then spread pea gravel on it and roll it with our roller and then sweep it off. And we put about 3 layers on there, and that's what's deteriorating now that you're talking about, because it's been several years. And with the weather and, the traffic, a lot of farm traffic on that road, and some oil traffic when they had when the tank trucks were, that active oil well at the end of the road was going on, you had a lot of that in and out as well. So we've done that. So the game plan is, in a couple of months when the weather warms up, we're gonna go on the rest of the road and reseal coat all of that and try to get it back in shape so that it'll hold up,
So
go
we're not
further.
gonna get a
Well,
blacktop?
on the phase,
The
there's
first
no
phase is
funding for
not-
the first phase is 3 miles. The
But
phase
is
2.
it gonna be a blacktop?
Yeah, that's gonna be asphalt. Yeah, that's gonna be a regular asphalt, which we always growing up called the blacktop, but it's gonna be, the first 3 miles will be asphalt. We have a contractor, Jerry, contracted that years ago in Patterson, so they're a very reputable contractor, and they'll be moving in to do that project.
Well, I know the town of government has given repairs, give the town of Patterson money for road repairs, and I know the parish got money for road repairs, and I sure would like to see some of it used on Victoria Riverside,
Yes, sir.
if that's not asking too
Yeah,
much.
Mr. Mott, the federal dollars that you're referring to is Community Development Block Grant funds, and those are for eligible specific areas that meet certain low to moderate income areas, families and it's a competitive application statewide for those things. So you have to map out a certain area, and that's what Berwick did on the streets, specific streets they're doing. They were able to map out that area where their application would compete for those CDBG funds.
When can we start seeing a little bit of progress?
Yes, sir.
1, 2 months, 3 months?
Yeah, that's, I said, we approved the bids, we awarded the contract, we received the bids, we awarded the contract. The contractor, we're gonna be, in the next month or so, will be finalizing his contracts with us, and then, we'll have a meeting with him, a pre-construction meeting, and then issue him the notice to proceed. So probably looking within the next month, we'll issue the notice to proceed, and then he'll get started.
you have any idea? I know it's gonna probably be a while from now, but when will y'all expect to do phase 2?
Phase 2, there's no funding in place for asphalt of phase
that
2.
may
That's
take-
why I mentioned we're gonna come in and do reseal coat all of that stretch.
So that might be a couple of years from now, maybe
It could
phase
be.
2. Okay. Well, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Orlando.
Okay, Mr. Chairman, if there's no other
Yeah. Orlando,
business, I make a motion, we go ahead and adjourn.
have a second? Second by Dr. Rank. All in favor?
Aye.
Anyone against?